Hey guys, we are back with some more New York Islanders franchise mode. But before we get started, we are going to take a look at the prospects that I added into the game. Brady Tkachuk, not going to look at them too long as I do want to get to the episode. And this is actually my third time recording this episode because I have had the past two episodes, or not the past two episodes, but the past two times I've recorded this episode in particular, there has been visual and audio glitches that happen so often that it's unbearable basically, and I'm not going to put something like that out. So basically all the prospects that I've made here are either prospects for the New York Islanders, such as Oliver Wahlstrom and Bode Wilde, that are also players from the U.S. College and U.S. National Development Program prospects. Those are all the guys that I've created. Brady Tkachuk, Bode Wilde, Jacob Bernard Docker, Joe Farabee, Jack Hughes, Jay O'Brien, and Jack Hughes is also a franchise potential 81 overall, so it's pretty much guaranteed he'll go first overall in the draft for year number one. Jay O'Brien, K'Andre Miller for the New York Rangers, Oliver Wahlstrom, and Quinn Hughes are the players who I've created. I also edited Matt Barzal, not anything too crazy, but just enough to make him the best overall in the team. He's an 86 overall. I boosted his offensive awareness, passing, puck control, and faceoffs by like 1 or 2 points each. All right, so we're here in the menu, and I was going to do a commentary third period this episode, but because I've been having those glitches and issues with my capture card, I'm going to try to keep this episode rather short. And by short, I mean like probably 20 minutes or so, because that for me, at least recently, is short. I mean, back in the day, short would have been like 10 minutes, but nowadays, for me, short is like 20 to 25 minutes. So we're just going to make sure we have some good scouts here. And I'm actually going to cut this out since we've done all this scouts stuff in the last episode, and I don't want to bore you guys, so I'm just going to sign the scouts myself, and then I will show you guys the scouts that we signed, and then we'll move on with the episode. All right, so these are the scouts we have left after I've fired the majority of them. We have 7 amateur scouts. We have 1 for the WHL, 1 for the O, 1 for the Q. So this guy's specific to the WHL. Cody's trainer specific to the OHL, and Francois Furland is specific to the Q. And then we have Barbara Sim, specific to the US. And then we have Skula, who can do all of Europe and most of Scandinavia, so that's good. Hagelin is specific to Scandinavia. And then Lebedev can scout Russia, most of Scandinavia, a little bit of Europe as well. So, but he is a rest of the world scout. So, maybe he can, he'll just be in Russia most of the time, I would imagine. So let me actually write this down so that I don't lose track of the scouts that we have for each region. So we don't need CHL scouts. Those are all good. And we have 1 U.S. scout. I would like to have 1 more U.S. scout. And then, what are we missing here? We have Russia. We have a Scandinavian scout. We have a European scout. So I guess we can maybe use an additional European scout and an additional... Or actually, no. I want 1 more U.S. scout, and I want 1... Okay, so I want 1 European scout, and I want 1 USA scout. And then for the pros, obviously we need 4 NHL, and then 4 AHL at the very least. Okay, so let me go sign all these scouts here, and I will be right back. All right, so I have got the scouts, not signed, but I've approached them. We have Ludwig Peterstrom for the NHL, Kent Griffith, Raphael Carlton, and then Marek Rositis Then for the AHL, we have, that is quite the name, Wayne Strumbalopoulos. Oh my. How does that, if that guy was a player, I don't even know how would that name even fit on a jersey. Devin Chimera. And then Wes Sarno and Ernest Clymer. So there is the NHL, and approached one guy in the US, Dominic Lowry. He's good at Central and East. And then one guy for Europe, Merrick Dano. And the reason I chose this guy over Merrick Teverdon, probably not how you pronounce that name, but whatever, is because he is better also with Scandinavia in terms of region familiarity. So he's more versatile in case we want to send him out to Scandinavia as well, but we'll more than likely keep him in Europe, as that is where all of his A's are. So there's all the scouts. We'll simulate a few days to see if we get all of them. And I don't see why we wouldn't. I gave them all what they wanted, pretty much. So let me just make sure we don't have anything else to do. Let's do the captains and jerseys before we go any further. I'm going to take that A away from Clutterbuck, and I'm going to assign it to Matt Barzal, because who else? I mean, he is the future of this franchise after all. Highest overall on the team. Moves. Just going to make sure we have our whole roster filled out, as we'll send Fritz down. And then there you see Matt Barzal, 86 overall. I added his offensive awareness, passing, puck control, and face-offs. Just boosted them all by like 1 or 2 points. That's all. Just enough to boost his overall to be the best overall on the team. And then let's check to make sure that we have, what's his name? Wahlstrom. Yep, there he is. Oliver Wahlstrom, 73 overall. And there's his individual stats. And that means we should have Bode Wilde, as yes, there he is, 69 overall. Top 4 potential defenseman. So that's all good. Now, before actually we start the simulation, I do want to play Wilde and Wahlstrom. Even though we know their overalls and such, I still want to give them some time in the NHL in the preseason. So let's call up Dobson as well. Really any good prospects here that we have. So we'll call up Wahlstrom. We'll call up, who else down here? Bellows. Yeah, Bellows is the top 6 forward. Oh yeah, right. You can only call up 3 at a time. So let me just send down some guys here. We'll send down Martin. We'll send down, gotta be 2 defensemen here, Aho and Mayfield. There you go. So then you got 7 defensemen here, and then you got 13 forwards. So we'll call up Bellows. And then, do I want to call up Duck Hole? I mean, he's still technically got that top 9 potential, so we'll give him a chance. And then we'll send down Kuhnhackl and Clutterbuck. There you go. Okay, so we're going to do best lines here. Now, since there's 20 skaters on the roster, that means 2 guys are going to be scratched, Bode Wilde and Wahlstrom. That is definitely not what we want. We're going to scratch Cizikas for Wahlstrom. Get in there, and then we'll scratch Pelech for Bode Wilde. There you go. So Wilde is a righty, Dobson's also a righty. So I'll put Dobson on the second pair, and then Wilde next to, next to Pulock. Okay, so then forward-wise, we got Wahlstrom, Bellows, Dokal. Okay, so let's put Wahlstrom with Barzal and Bailey, and then Lee, Eberle, and Beauvillier. And then third line will be Hosang, Bellows, and Filppula. And then fourth line will be Ladd, Nelson, and Dokal. Can Dokal take faceoffs? 78, yeah, he's actually pretty good. What about Nelson, 75? Ladd, I wouldn't imagine is too good, 60. Yeah, we'll put Dokal in the middle. Okay, so that's good for that. And yep, that looks good. Not going to touch the special teams right now, as these are the preseason lines, so we'll see how they simulate in the preseason. And as I said, I did want to get a third period commentary in this video, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen with all the glitches that the capture card's been having. So I'm just we'll just sim the preseason. We'll see how the team does, and we'll probably have to call it an episode after maybe 1 month of simulation, because again, I don't want to make this too long. So there's all the scouts signing. I'll probably have to micromanage that a little bit before the season starts. Strumpolopoulos, the very long name there. And that should be nearly everybody. Lowry. Yep, there we go. Okay. So solid 2 wins to start the season. Lost to the Rangers, lost to the Capitals, lost to the Hurricanes, and a win against the Flyers. So we'll go into this game against Pittsburgh. I'm not going to commentate any third periods or anything. We'll just go this slow sim just to see who scores any goals here. First period, goals by Rust and Kessel. Second period, goal by Dumoulin. And third period, goal by Malkin. No goals for your New York Islanders. That is not ideal, but you know what? It's preseason. We got our team full of rookies there. Well, not full of rookies, but you know what I mean. I think we have at least 5 of them on the roster, so can't expect too much out of them. Let's check the player stats. And one thing I am very excited about this game. You can actually sort by preseason stats now. Unbelievable. And if you take a look at rookies as well, does this... Okay, we can't see Wallstrom's. Well, that makes sense because we created him. But you can see junior league stats now in the history of career stats. So that is everything I've ever wanted. Well, not everything, but it's a huge step in the right direction in terms of stats. So let's see. I'm mainly interested in the rookies here. So Wallstrom with 3 points, solid. Doug Hole with 1 point, and then Wilde, Dobson, and Bellows with nothing. All minuses. That is very unfortunate, but you know, preseason, they're rookies. Not gonna complain. I'll send them down to the AHL so that we can get our best guys up here and that they can develop a little bit down there. I'm not sure if Dobson. I'm pretty sure Dobson will be going back to juniors. Would he not? Yeah, he's going back to juniors. And then we'll send down Wilde as well. But I'm pretty sure Wilde is just going to the AHL. So we'll call up Aho and Mayfield again. Yeah, Wilde's going to the AHL, so that's good. And then Komarov and Clutterbuck are actually down here as well. So I'll send down Bellows and Dokol and Wallstrom. And we'll call up, I guess, Komarov, Clutterbuck, and Kunackle. Yeah, there you go. All those guys are going down to the AHL. Okay, perfect. So we should have 13 forwards now and 7 defensemen. Let me just make sure. Yep, that looks like 7 right there. And then that means we have 13 forwards. That looks good. And then goaltenders, we have Leonard and Grice. Yep. I mean, I probably should have called up Soderstrom for the for the preseason, but whatever. I kind of forgot. So let us get to a month of simulating, but not before we edit the lines. So let's see what the computer does here. Should just put, Barzell, Lee, Eberle. I don't want Hosang on the second line because he's a depth forward. I'll put him on the third line just so he can get some points there. Komarov, I mean, there's not really much that we're going to be able to do here just in terms of overalls. Like, the majority of the bottom 6 here are 80 or less. So, I mean, even Filppula and Komarov, 8 out of our 12 forwards currently on the roster, well, 13 technically, are 80 or below. The only overalls above that we have are Bailey 85, Lee 84, Barzell 86, and Lee Eberle 85. So there's, again, not really too much flexibility that we have here. So it's really just, for right now, at the very least, a crapshoot in terms of the chemistry that we have going on, so we can edit the lines as the season goes on, but there's not really much that would affect, so defensively, Letty, Boychuk, Hickey, Pulik, Pellick, and Mayfield. That looks good to me. Goaltenders, Leonard and Grice. Special teams, you got Eberle, Barzell. I mean, pretty much all of our best offensive players are going to be on every power play, right? Since, just overall wise. I mean, that looks good to me right now. There's not really too much we can do. Penalty kills, Zizekas, Komarov, Pulik, and Boychuk, and then Beauvillier, Bailey, Letty, and Hickey. I mean, again, it's a new team. Let's just see how the best lines does. We'll make roster changes or edit the lines as needed. But for right now, let's just go with the computer is saying to do. Barzell, Eberle, Bailey, Lee, Letty for the shootout. That looks good to me. Scratched are Kuhnhackl and Aho. Yep. I mean, again, new team. Not really much that we're going to know right out of the gate. So let's just see how these guys simulate after 1 month. But first, actually, almost forgot to do this. Let us assign the scouts here, as they're you know what, they're good on auto. I'm not gonna they're the best way to do scouting in this game is on auto, because the amount of times you're gonna need to go back into the screen if you're doing it manually is quite a bit. I experimented with that a little bit last night, and I spent nearly I'm gonna say 85% of my time on this screen. So we're just going to leave them alone. We'll see the draft class before we get into the simulation, because it's probably changed at this point with obviously Jack Hughes. But then as well, you have the new computer-generated players. So Dustin Bowmeister, that definitely looks like a computer-generated name, especially since he is from Denmark and plays in the SHL and has a American-Canadian name. So, yeah, that definitely looks like a generated player there. Capo Caco, Bowen Byram, Peyton Krebs, Kirby Dack, Michael Vukojevic. Again, I'm pronouncing these names to the best of my ability, but I'm butchering them. Dylan Cozens, Uriel Powell, Ricard Tumainen, Ryan Suzuki, Sergei Glebov, Tristan Rita, Christian Ragnarsson, Valery Chubarov, Jared Jones, Christian Hansen, Christian Hansen, Matthew Robertson, Samuel Poulin, Weston Corso, Arthur Kaliev, Jaden Carpenter, Magnus Lindstrom, Joachim Virtanen, Colin Gallagher, Eric Spooner, Josh Williams, Clayton Morrow, Nolan Foote, and Nikita Ahotyuk round out the top 30. So that's it for that. Let's get to a month of simulating, which should be interesting with this team. Let me just make sure that I'm not missing anything here. And one thing, actually, before we get into the simulation, that I noticed last night while playing with the Devils is that there's no way to sort for defensemen unless you sort by all positions. It goes forward, goalie, all positions. And when you sort by all positions as well, you can't go further than the contracts, right? Because then it's also looking for goaltender stats, which don't apply to skaters, where if you sort by forward, you get to see all these shooting, puck skills, senses, all that, and then select rating and all that. And then goaltender, see how it switches with reflexes, puck control, athletic. When you go to all positions, there's no way to sort for that by defensemen. So I'd like if EA could patch this, because it doesn't seem like there's a fix to it as of right now. This happened to me with the Devils last night, and I don't like how you can't sort for defensemen. So make sure you get it on that, EA. So just thought I'd point that out as a little bit of a flaw in the player search that I noticed. And let us get to the regular season and see how the team simulates. All right, first game against the Carolina Hurricanes. Let's see what happens. We'll go the first month, and then we'll probably end it off, because, again, got to keep it short, or somewhat short. 3-0 loss against the Hurricanes, 1-0 win against the Preds, but a 4-1 loss against the Sharks. So we all kind of figured this that the Islanders defense, not great, and even forwards at the moment, not great, besides Barzell and Eberle and all that going on. So I'm not going to view the draft class right now. It's only been 2 weeks, so not really too much of a point in that at the moment. But yeah, we're not looking the greatest here out the gate. I mean, obviously things could change. It's only the first month, but things are kind of going as expected right now for the Islanders. But as I say that, we we go on a 4-game winning streak, so maybe doubting all my teams works with the reverse voodoo. Who knows? So, and the Penguins are, of course, are 4-6. So we are currently ahead of Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, New Jersey, and Carolina. So that's kind of a shock, actually, especially for Pittsburgh. Jordan Eberle with 12 points right out the gate, on fire to start out for the New York Islanders. Anders Lee with 11 points as well. Matt Barzell, who would have guessed, with 11 points. Josh Bailey with 5. Letty with 5. Nelson, Pulock, Komarov with 4. Beauvillier, Cizikas, Hosang, Filppula with 3. Hickey, Ladd with 2. And then Boychuk, Clutterbuck with 1. And then Kuhnhackl, Aho, Pelech, and Mayfield all with none so far on the season. That's not a problem, though. Anders Lee with a +6, who leads penalty minutes. Bailey with 12. Lee with 33 shots and a 24.2 shooting percentage. 2 game-winning goals for him as well. So Lee looks to be one of our best players at the moment in terms of stats. Time on ice, Boychuk and Letty lead. No surprise there. Face-offs, let's see how we're doing. So Cizikas, 48.1. Filppula, 48.2, Beauvillier, 47.8, and Barzell, 44%. Yikes. That is not good at all. Hits, let's see, Bailey and Lee lead with 20 and 18 respectively. Komarov with 17 as well. Blocks, let's see. Boychuk with 24, Letty with 17, Pulock with 15, Mayfield with 14, Hickey with 13, Beauvillier with 9 leads forwards. Giveaways and takeaways, let's see. So Ladd, Filppula, Barzell, Eberle, Hosang all have good ratios. Boychuk for a defenseman has a very good ratio as well. 10 and 7. That's good for a defenseman. Cizikas has a pretty good ratio. Lee has a good ratio. Letty, very good ratio for a defenseman. Holy. Especially for an offensive defenseman. 6 and 4. I mean, that's actually kind of great at the moment. Beauvillier, Mayfield, good for a defenseman. Komarov, Pelech, I mean, that's going to happen. Bailey, okay. Hickey, not great. Pulock, not great. Clutterbuck, not great. Nelson, could be better. So, I mean, I kind of expected this, again, from this team, but we have, that being said, got off to a pretty solid start, 6-4-1 in our first 11 games. Goaltenders, let's see, Leonard with a .917 save percentage and Greiss with a .926 in 4 games. 2 shutouts for Leonard, 251 goals against average, 18 goals against, not much else going on. So that'll be about it for this one. Let's actually just check the AHL real quick. Okay, good. Wallstrom's playing. Because last night when I was playing with the Devils, I forgot to dress Michael McLeod when I sent him back down from the NHL when it was preseason, and he missed nearly half the season just because I forgot to edit the lines for the AHL. So, okay, so good. Wallstrom's in there, probably playing first line, so that's good. Bork, Laredo. What about our other rookies here? Okay, so is Dobson not playing? God. All right, so at least I noticed that now instead of, 3 months from now. But let's just make sure that Dobson's playing. Oh, you know what? Dobson's in the juniors, isn't he? Yeah, so Wallstrom's on the first line. Let's just make sure that all of our other rookies are playing, however. So Doug Hole needs to play. Bellows needs to play. Okay, so it's a good thing I noticed this now instead of, again, 2 or 3 months from now. So we'll get Doug Hole in there. He could play center, actually. And I'll replace him with Holmstrom. We'll get Bellows in there. I believe that's it for forwards. Let me just make sure. Yeah, that's it for forwards. And then defensively, Benoit I will replace with Bode Wilde. Yep, Bode Wilde needs to play. And that name, La Franchise. that is an amazing name. As I believe that is it for prospects. So, all right, we got that out of the way. Now let's check out the AHL stats real quick. Wallstrom's the only one we were really concerned about who's been playing at this point. So 10 points in 9 games for him. We'll check up on guys like Bellows and Bode Wilde later, as they have not been in a game yet. So that'll be about it for this one. Oh my, St. Louis 10-0 to start the season. But again, that'll be it for this one. Wanted to keep this one kind of short. I have 32 minutes on the recording. It's probably not going to be it for the actual video, but got to keep this as short as possible. So I'm going to end it off here, and I'll see you guys in the next one.